What's going on, guys? Let's see what we have here today. It is 11 weird things I hadn't seen before moving to Australia. So you gotta move to Australia to actually see these things by the looks of it. So let's check them out. We're far ahead watching this from YouTube, so this will be a thumbs up if you guys want to move to Australia. Like the video, guys, subscribe, and let's get it going.
In this video, we're going to cover the weirdest things I ever encountered until I moved to Australia. Now, the first weirdest thing I found was that crimes do happen in Australia. Hang on a minute, that isn't that weird. But the weird thing I did find was that crimes were reported on the TV, and 9 times out of 10, probably 99 times out of 100, they caught the person that did it. Now, I know what you're thinking, Ross, why is this weird? Well, in the UK where I lived before I moved to Australia, you never really heard about stabbings, shootings, serious violent crime. It very rarely ever made the national news, but you know it did happen. It seems to be that in Australia, serious crimes like this seem to happen so infrequently that the Australian media really catches on to the line, if it bleeds, it leads. I hate to say it, but more often than not in Brisbane, we do hear about crimes that you think, ooh, wish that hadn't happened. But coming from a country that if they followed the same policy on if it bleeds, it leads, that is all that they would be talking about in the news, and they wouldn't have any time to report on anything else. Oh, and in the UK it also seemed like they never managed to catch the person. And if they ever did, they also got some kind of pathetic punishment.
At least in Australia they managed to catch the person, so that's a good sign.
Kids know how to
Monday.com
swim. And if they do, what age did they learn? Because in Australia there seems to be a really weird focus on the importance of swimming and teaching young people how to swim.
I say it's nice beaches in Australia,
not really weird, but it's a good thing. Especially in a country where it seems like it's more common to have a swimming pool than central heating, and enough beaches in a country that if you wanted to visit a new one every day, it would probably take up a third of your lifetime. That a focus on teaching young people to swim seems to be so important. If anything, the weird thing is knowing people who don't know how to swim. And more often than not, they seem to be foreigners. I hear Bondi Rescue seems to find a load of them. Why would you go that far into the water if you don't know how to swim? I bet you wish you learned when you were younger. Australians
I mean, guys, swimming is a big thing. You need to know how to swim. Seriously, you will go to the beaches a lot, especially if you live in a hot country. I mean, I've been swimming from a really young age. So, yeah, that's a good thing for me. Let me know, do you guys know how to swim? Let me know your experience in learning swimming.
Change names in some kind of way. And it seems that Australians don't even have any respect for if it's your own name. Whilst an Aussie granting you a nickname can seem like one of the highest forms of endearment, unsolicited nicknames can seem a little bit weird to someone new to the country. I myself have a multitude of different nicknames that I seem to get called. Roscoe, Jono, sometimes the occasional whacker. I'm not sure if that's a nickname or not. Okay. It seems like in Australia it's pretty common to call you anything but your real name. So if you don't like it, you're just going to have to get used to it, I'm afraid, mate. Okay. Or you're going to end up getting...
So you have nicknames.
Now, continuing on with the theme of weird that Australians say, this one definitely confused me the first time I heard it. But why do so many Australians say but at the end of a sentence? Now, even before I moved to Australia, I was pretty common with the fact that Australians seem to rise up at the end of every sentence, like they're commonly asking a question. But why would you say but at the end? Want to go down the tab like that? But what? Is this just a common Queensland thing? Does it depend on how bogan you are or how ochre you talk? How Australian do you have to be to but at the end of your sentence?
At the end of every sentence.
Now, I myself, I really try to be as Australian as possible and to integrate into my new loving country. But I just can't seem to but at the end of the sentence.
Same with me.
Yeah, that just seems so natural. But yeah, I can't do it. I'm just going to have to try it out on new, unsuspecting foreigners. Maybe they won't notice. Maybe they will. But really need to work on that timing. But I have never lived in a country that has places such high value on qualifications. Now, I don't necessarily mean how high your level of qualifications go. Australians probably couldn't care less if you'd been to university sometimes. But what they do seem to value so much is if you want to be able to do a job, you need to be qualified to do it. And not just qualified anywhere, to their own Australian standards. Want to change a plug? You better have at least a Cert 3 in electrotechnology. Don't like the look of your taps? Well, you better make sure you're a qualified plumber, mate. Now, whilst I don't think that it's a bad thing to be qualified in the area that you want to work in.
I never had such problems with taps and things like that. I don't know. Never had such problem.
And I actually think that it stops all these rogue traders just pretending to be something when actually they're really not. Does it improve the overall quality of different tradesmen? Well, I'll leave you to decide that in the comments. But one thing's for sure in Australia, if you're not really qualified to do something, then you're probably not going to be able to do it. Get yourself onto TAFE, I guess. And another thing that Australians seem to be so strict on is immigration policies. And coming from the UK, where it seemed like every person used to moan about migrants, I mean, that doesn't necessarily change so much in Australia. They seem to be moaning about me even more, driving up them house prices. But as a UK citizen, I used to overlook the fact of how easy it was to move pretty freely around different countries in the world. But you want to come and live in Australia? Yeah, nah, it's not so easy. For a lot of people coming to stay for a few days.
Even me, I wouldn't mind living in Australia, but I'm saying that now. I don't know, like, this video does explain quite a lot, like 11 weird things.
Few months, that's not necessarily the problem. But you want to live and work here? Well, what country do you come from for a start? What can you do that can better the Australian way of life? Because if you can't contribute to this country, chances are you're probably not going to be let in, at least permanently.
I think I'm going to fit pretty well in Australia.
Australia is one of the hardest countries to settle and live in long term, but it's also one of the most desirable. Over the last 3 years of running this channel, I've been able to help hundreds, if not thousands of people in their journey to make the move to Australia. But understanding the strict immigration policies of Australia is something that I'm no expert in. So if you want to speak to some experts for free, make sure you speak to our friends True Blue Migration Services. Mention us and they'll tell you exactly what you can do to move to this beautiful country. And unlike most professional people in Australia that just seem to want to charge you for the time of day, they'll tell you for free. Just make sure you upload an up-to-date resume and check that you've spelled your email address correctly. Otherwise they might not be able to contact you. Yeah, that may or may not have happened to me before as well. I sometimes wonder how I managed to get the qualifications to teach, but there are some things that Australians just seem to make so
looking for a university.
Simple. In the UK, I often used to wonder to myself, what season are we in? Now that's not necessarily to do with the fact that British weather is just so shit. The fact that you can genuinely be in 1 month, but the fact that it can feel like the complete seasonal opposites of the year. In Australia, seasons are simple. Summer is December through to February. The weirdly cold months are June, July and August.
I love fishing,
and yet, if
guys.
you hadn't noticed already, seasons in Australia run for exactly 3 months. What? 3 months. Want to know what season you're in? Just look at the calendar, mate. And then remember which ones are which. They don't print in the calendar what season
you'll figure
it is.
it out.
That would be too easy, wouldn't it?
One way
when
or
I used to live
another,
in
you'll
the
get
UK,
it.
one of the biggest problems, I know this is going to seem like first world problem, but one of the biggest problems seemed to be that when you went out for a coffee, where would you go? Which chain establishment would you love to deposit your money to in exchange for a cup of brown, sometimes hot, sometimes tasteless coffee? Buying a coffee in the UK sometimes felt a little bit like a lottery. Where are you going to get a good one? Is the coffee place that you finally found that does serve a half decent coffee overflowing with patrons so that you can't actually get a coffee in the next 30 minutes at least? Australia seems to be full of good coffee shops. Wherever you turn, even if you go to Macca's, even if you go to 7-Eleven, you can seem to get a half decent coffee almost anywhere. Having the trust that you can get a decent cup of coffee just doesn't seem to fill you with anxiety whenever you go out. Need a quick caffeine pickup? Well, there's a coffee shop. Well, there's one there. Normally both completely independent of a reasonable...
How do you guys do like your coffee sort of work? Is there like a regular place you actually go pick up your coffees? Like a special brand? Is it Starbucks, Costa Coffee, Pret? Like what company do you get your coffee from? Let me know in the comments below. Or even if you make your coffees at home, that's something as well. For me, guys, I just have like a coffee machine at home. So yeah, I actually have coffee here. I just put an espresso shot, some ice and some milk, and yeah, nice cold summer coffee.
Price, but who really cares when 9 times out of 10 you're just ordering a flat white anyway? What kind of music do you listen to? Now from myself, if I did claim what kind of taste of music I had, I'd probably say it's pretty eclectic, meaning that I enjoy most different types of music. But there was one type of music that I didn't really experience, and it felt a bit weird in Australia that it seemed so popular. I just often thought that country music was like Taylor Swift, and it turns out that in Australia, like most places of the world, Taylor Swift is also really popular. Like, that's not a problem. them, but I had never really been one to listen to country music. It just wasn't really a thing in the UK. I mean, you could get it on Spotify, but it wasn't really widely played on the radio. Here you've got country music festivals, country music artists playing big venues. I even have friends that pretty much all they'll listen to is country music. And no, I don't sit there wondering why we're friends. We have lots of other things in common. Do I now love country music? I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm completely converted, that I'm going to listen to it exclusively, but like the fact that you're also going to hear some weird older classics in Australia. Every now and again, they're going to drop a country banger on you as well. And you know what? You're probably going to like it, especially if it's in exchange for UK drill music. What the f***ing hell is that? Now in Australia, they're always going to tell you about the weird taste buds that they have. And no, this isn't anything to do with Vegemite, which is lovely, by the way. But coming from Europe, where they do often claim to have the best dips for chips and hot chips, I call them hot chips now. But what do you dip your hot chips in? And I am also not talking about chicken salt, which is also lovely, by the way. But how much of an abomination is taking sour cream and mixing it with sweet chili sauce? Now, I don't mean fully mixing them together, but I guess if you did that, it wouldn't be that much of a bad thing. But getting sour cream, topping it with sweet chili sauce, and then dipping your hot chips into them, or dipping your potato wedges in them, that's a fantastic combo. Can you imagine hot chips, chicken salt, sour cream and sweet chili sauce, washed all down with a pint of Vegemite? I mean, okay, you're not going to do the last one, but if you've never had the sweet chili and sour cream combo, did you ever wonder why there seemed to be a little bit of a hole in your heart? Then that's probably the next thing you need to try to feel a little bit more Australian. Australians are some of the nicest people in the world, depending on your level of what you deem as polite.
From what I've realized from the comments from you guys and everything in general, from the videos and things like that, I have realized that Australians are really nice people. I mean, they care, and you know, that's a big thing. So I love the way they think. So yeah, thumbs up from me.
And they like to swear a lot as well. But Australians do something for me when I go shopping that I swear I had never had done for me in the UK. Let me know if they do this in the country that you come from, but where you're from, do they bag your groceries for you? The first time that I was in an Australian supermarket and the young person beeping my products through the till just started opening bags and putting them in for me, I didn't know what to do. And the next time they went even better and said, have you got your bags so that I can bag it for you? I was in complete shock. I came from a country where they would look at you in disgust if you didn't bag your stuff quick enough. How much do you feel like royalty when all you need to do is
I feel that sometimes as well. Well, what he just mentioned was pretty true, I must say.
Items onto the conveyor belt and watch the person being paid a decent minimum wage do their job. Do they pack it all crap? No, they actually take care in their packaging. But if you don't want to have that full Australian experience when you go to the supermarket, or you just don't want to be the type of person that gives another dollar to the price gouging that are Woolies and Coles, you can always go to Aldi. And like the Aldis in the UK, they will literally throw your things at you after they've bleeped them through the till. I even think they're faster in Australia.
Wow.
Do you know what? I'm just going to buy my groceries more locally from now on. Probably get the best of both worlds. And if you're not sure whether Australia could be the country for you, or you want to just learn more about this place that I now call home, then watch this video. See you next time.
Wow, guys, I must say that was a really, really great video. So here we learned 11 weird things I hadn't seen before moving to Australia. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Hope you'll enjoy it, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace out.